Hey everyone, Corner Pinoy X here once again, back with another video. So today I thought I'd go ahead and kickstart the content back on this channel by talking about the latest movie available for the Monster Hunter series. Nope, not that one. I already spoke about my thoughts and opinions on that one. We're gonna be talking about this one right here. Monster Hunter Legends of the Guild. Now as always, because this involves story and pretty much the premise of the entire movie, if you haven't seen it, this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want to get spoiled in any way, shape, or form, move away from this video now, watch the movie, and then come back to it so we can go ahead and discuss it. Past this point, I can only assume that you're okay with spoilers or you've already seen the movie for yourself. Anyway, let's just go ahead and jump straight into my thoughts and opinions regarding this particular movie. Okay, so starting us off, let's talk about the negatives of this movie very quickly. There's only two that I can think of, but they are quite major ones, especially for those of you that like your animation to be fluid and for others who enjoy the storytelling. First of all, the pacing of this movie is extremely quick. You're not really given time for the exposition of the characters, and you're not really given enough time to process some of the major events that's happening. There's a lot of stuff going on far too quickly. And alongside this, because of the pacing being very quick, it does affect the dialogue at times, so do keep that in mind. The pacing can get really off-putting at times. Alongside that, we also have some of the animation moments. I think the biggest one here is going to be the Nursela fight. There are moments in the movie where the animation feels very awkward, and the Nursela fight is perhaps the biggest one of them all. There's a moment in that fight where the Nursela is moving around and it feels like the monster was moving about half the frame rate that everyone else is. Where everyone is moving at 30 frames per second, for example, the Nursela is only moving at 15 frames per second, so the animation felt a bit awkward at times. But those are the only two negatives that I can think of. They're not super major for me, but to some people it might be. So keep that in mind. Those are the two major drawbacks with this particular movie. Alright, moving away from negatives, let's now talk about my personal experience on the positive side with this movie. The first one is gonna sound hypocritical because we gotta talk about animation once again. Where there are weak moments of animation, for example the Nursela fight, there are extremely strong animation moments in this movie as well. I think the best one for me is gonna be the Velocidrome fight where Aiden takes on a Velocidrome. Obviously the Lunastra fight near the end of the movie. But the main one for me is going to be the Congalala hunt that eventually turned into a Devil Joe hunt. That was some serious nuts to butts action. It was consistent. You get to see a turf war where hunters take on two monsters fighting each other to the death. And at the same time, the action was consistent. It was fluid. I really enjoyed that part. I think that was the strongest animation moment in this movie overall because again, it shows you the strong points of the animation of this movie. I know I kept saying that word animation, but that is gonna be one of the main things that really stands out for me because of the fact that this is based on a video game. So yeah, that fight with the Congalala and the Devil Joe, definitely the best moment for me. It tops the Lunastra fight overall. The other strong point of this movie is going to be the soundtrack. The soundtrack is amazing in that it's original, but at the same time, you do hear the exact same instrumentals as what you would hear in the video games. The best example for this is going to be the Lunastra theme. When you hear the Lunastra's theme kick in, you know it's exactly the one that you would hear in Monster Hunter World, but the rendition is extremely different. So overall, that's another strong point in this movie, especially for those of you who enjoy the soundtrack, especially with Monster Hunter World. This is something that you would enjoy. Definitely a good strong point here because there's no other part for me to compare it with aside from the video games because they did it exactly right. It's original, but it's not super original to the point that it loses the feel of the world of Monster Hunter. And finally, I have to give them praise for the overall setting that they've chosen here. They've chosen a setting that many people are familiar with, both 4th generation players and 5th generation players at the same time. They've taken the events of the new world, which is the Elder's Crossing, in order for the 5th generation players to be familiar with it, but they've taken the old world as their main setting, as well as characters from the old world in order to connect the dots together. Aiden is not just connected to the Elder's Crossing by chance. He is connected to it because it affected his village from the very beginning. This is something that they didn't address with Monster Hunter 4 and 4 Ultimate or even in Monster Hunter World. The fact that we have that connection now really shows how deep Aiden is in the Elder's Crossing event. Overall, the fact that they've done this means that they're not just trying to grab the older players for a bit of nostalgia, they want the other players from Monster Hunter World to be involved in this setting as well. They want you to get interested in the old world as much as you are interested in the new world. And of course, they've chosen monsters that are very well represented throughout the entirety of the series. You have the Velocidrome, the Nursula, and the Congalala for previous Monster Hunter titles, and of course, for those of you who started with Monster Hunter World, you have the Devil Joe as well as Lunastra. I think the reason they chose Lunastra here is because they really want you to feel that pain that you felt in Monster Hunter World, where this monster could just destroy everything, and it did the exact same thing in Timben. So yeah, you might feel a little bit of that flashback to the moment where Lunastra burnt away your HP, so just keep that in mind. That could be the very reason as to why they've utilized Lunastra specifically here. And there was also a moment that I really liked about Lunastra where it utilizes its core mechanics from the previous Monster Hunter titles, with its flames being similar to Teostra, but eventually it transitions to its moveset from Monster Hunter World. Overall, I think they've done an amazing job of the entire setting for this movie and connecting the two generations of Monster Hunter players together in order for them to enjoy Monster Hunter Legends of the Guild. And that's gonna be pretty much it for me for this video. I know I rambled on a little bit longer than I anticipated, but there's still a lot of stuff for me to cover regarding this movie and some of the key moments that they've covered here, but I'm gonna do those for future videos. For now though, what are your overall thoughts and opinions regarding Monster Hunter Legends of the Guild, whether you're a previous generation Monster Hunter player or someone who has started with Monster Hunter World? Let us know in the comments below your personal thoughts and opinions regarding the entirety of Monster Hunter Legends of the Guild. Now with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider leaving a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel, as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other movies that I might be watching in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.